I feel very, very insignificant. At the same time, very, very fortunate to get the opportunity to introduce Her Grace Malati Mataji
Actually, my name, hello, my name is Malati Devi Dasi.
Dasi.
That is what Srila Prabhupada named me. He didn't name me Malati Mataji.
So, Malati Devi Dasi Mataji. So, all of you, I'm sure we sent a detailed bio in our email, and I'm sure all of you have, read through Prabhupada's, morning walk or through his letter, so many interaction and pastimes with Her Grace. So just to save the time, I'll just try to go over some of the key highlights. So Mataji came to Krishna consciousness in San Francisco, 1967. She was initiated by His Divine Grace. And she was one devotee out of 6 who were sent London to help establish Krishna consciousness. And then, all the pastime meeting with George Harrison and doing all the miracles. Mataji helped also set up the Bhaktivedanta Manor. And Mataji has been serving as a GBC member since 1998 for US region. And some of the zonal areas that include under Mataji's service is Gainesville, Temple, Miami, Florida, Kentucky, Michigan.
That's old news.
That's old news?
I'm not.
Ohio, I know for sure.
I'm out of Florida for a long time. I'm up north.
But I know Ohio for sure. Columbus Temple.
Yeah, Columbus, in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Western Pennsylvania, like that.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. Also, Mataji is a founding member of the Vaishnava Ministry for Women. And Mataji does...
One of the founding members, not
one of the
founding members.
And I saw some of the picture on Facebook where all the senior disciples and female senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they get together. And I was really happy to see some of the, devotee like Mother Kamagari Mataji and Krishna Mataji and all of that. So it was wonderful that, Mataji has been doing that service. And also Mataji, are you working on a book basically to capture the memory and experience of the female Mataji with Srila Prabhupada? Is that going on or it's done?
Say again?
The book,
Yeah.
So I saw that you are writing a book about memories of Srila Prabhupada's female disciples.
Yes, I will mention that. I'm just trying to adjust the light here. So you said something really funny. You said female Mataji. Like what? Anyway.
Matajis.
Anyway, this is the book. It's called A Bond of Love.
Wow.
Srila Prabhupada and His Daughters. It is available on Amazon.com, and it's over 300 interviews with lady disciples of Srila Prabhupada. It is almost 600 pages, and it's only $20. We did not write this book for profit. We are hoping to spread further the glories of Srila Prabhupada, because most of what is heard about him is coming from the side of the men, and people don't realize that he had wonderful personal ecstatic relationships with his female disciples. So this book, The Bond of Love, is revealing another aspect of Srila Prabhupada that is not so well known. And this book is not written for women, it's written for everybody to develop and increase their love and affection for Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for that service. So as all of you know, Mataji is one of the pioneer member, and some of the early on member. By their blessings in America, we are having the opportunity to become Krishna conscious. So thank you, Mataji, for your blessings and your support. And I'll get back to you for the lecture. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranams. Back to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So I should start now?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, please start.
Okay. So just because because you told me to chant Jai Radha Madhava, I'll do that a little quickly. And then we'll hear, because today is, according to our Vaishnav calendar in the West, it is the appearance of Radha Kund and Bahalostomy. So a few words about that will be appropriate. And it's also the sacred month of Kartik, which is the best of all months. Jaya Rama Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Jana Baba Hari Yasoda Nana Rajana Yasoda Nana Rajana Yasoda Nana Rajana Yamuna Tira Manachari Jai Om Shri Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Satara, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, BBT Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, our Lord and Master, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Hari Hari.
All glories, all glories, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So, 1 second here. Om Agyantamirandasya Janana Sakalaya Chakshum Militam Yena Tasme Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paspatya Satarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhayivyacha Patitinam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we'll begin. Maybe you know about this letter or not, but in 1969, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to Jayapataka, who at that time was not Swami, and he gave an explanation about Kartik. He said, "You have asked about the specialness of the month of Kartik, and the answer is that it is a special inducement for persons who are not in Krishna consciousness to perform some devotional service. For persons who are doing nothing in Krishna consciousness, it is an indirect inducement to take to devotional service in earnest, special seriousness. Every moment is Kartik. In this connection, there's a good example that sometimes a store gives a special concession to attract new customers. But for those who are already customers, there is no need of a special sale. They will purchase at any cost if they know the important value of the goods. Similarly, those who are pure devotees do not aspire for any concession, and out of spontaneous love, they try to engage themselves in devotional service to 24 hours a day, each day, 365 days every year without stoppage. So Sri Radha Kund is within Bahulavan. And for this reason, there's a custom to take bath at Sri Radha Kund on the day of Bahalostomy. That's today. Huge assemblies of people bathe in Sri Radha Kund on this day. But first of all, we may consider what is Radha Kund. So Radha Kund is situated at Govardhan Hill in Sri Vrindavan Dham, and it's the eternal bathing place of Srimati Radharani. Sri Krishna spends 6 hours a day there, enjoying blissful, confidential pastimes with Radhika and the Braj gopis. This special lake, this Kund, was created by Radharani and her gopi companions at midnight on Bahalostomy in Kartik month. It's the topmost of all holy sacred places in Vraj, and it's the most exalted place for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. The 8 major Gaudiya Vaishnava temples of Vrindavan, Govindaji, Madan Mohan, Gopinath, etc., they all exist at Radha Kund, as well as the Bhajan Kutirs of Sri Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The descendants of Radha Kund are considered non-different from Radharani, and they easily grant love of God, Krishna Prem. In the Padma Purana, one of our sacred shastras, among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is very dear to Sri Krishna, being his principal Pranavallabha, meaning very dear to him. In the Varaha Purana, it's also mentioned, "O Sri Radha Kund, O Sri Krishna Kund, you destroy all sins and award one-pointed prema," means nothing else. "I bow down to you again and again." And the Puranas, these ancient texts, are filled with innumerable descriptions of the glories of these two Kunds. In the Brajavilastava, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami prays, "Not even Sri Vrindavan, which is supremely delightful because of places like the rasa-filled Rasastali, which is where Radha and Krishna would meet and dance, rasa dance, or Sriman Govardhan, which is the arena of nectarian ras, where the most confidential amorous pastimes of the divine couple take place. Even these are not equal to a shadow of a particle of the glories of Sri Radha Kund. What to speak of other pastime places in Brajmandala. So therefore, Raghunath Das says, "I take shelter of this Radha Kund, which is more dear to Sri Mukunda, Krishna, than his own life." So Radha Kund lies in a village named Aristagan, and it's about 3 miles northeast of Govardhan and 14 miles from Mathura and Vrindavan. So Aristasura was a servant of Kamsa, and I understand there's some new people here. So Aristasura was a demoniac, means by demoniac, we mean those persons who are not favorable to God or favorable to Krishna. And this Aristasura, Asura means demoniac, was a servant of Kamsa. Kamsa was a real big rascal. And this Aristasura assumed the form of a bull and attacked Krishna with the aim of killing him. However, Krishna killed him instead. So at Radha Kund, Radha, Krishna, Yugala perform their midday pastimes. Their Leela, it's called Leela Vilas, Madhyaknik. And they perform a variety of amorous pastimes freely and without any obstruction. And it's not possible anywhere else. Therefore, this Radha Kund is considered to be the topmost place, superior even to Nandagram, Varshana, Vrindavan, and Govardhan. And in this confidential place, it was revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who was endowed with the sentiment and the luster of Sri Radha. Previously, Madhavendra Puri, Sri Lokanath Goswami, Bhugarbha Goswami, they all came to Braj, and they revealed various pastime places of Krishna, but they didn't reveal this most confidential place, which was manifested by Lord Mahaprabhu, Sri Gaurasundar himself, who is Radha and Krishna combined. So Krishna killed Aristasura during the day, and that very same night, he met with his beloved Sri Radhika and the other Sakis, her girlfriends, at the same place. So Sri Krishna, he was very eager to embrace Srimati Radhika, but as soon as he reached out towards her to embrace her, she stepped back. And she said, "Today you have killed a bull which belongs to the cow family. You have therefore committed the sin of killing a cow. Please don't touch my pure body." Krishna smilingly answered, "Priyatma, my very dear one, it was a demon that I killed, and this demon had deceitfully assumed the form of a bull. So how can sin even touch me?" But she insisted, "Whatever he was, he assumed the form of a bull when you killed him. Therefore, the sin of killing a cow has definitely touched you." And the Sakis, her girlfriends, supported her statements. So Krishna asked, how could he atone? How can I atone for this sin? And Srimati Radharani replied, the only atonement is that you take bath in all the sacred tirthas of the entire earth planet. So upon hearing this, Sri Krishna mystically created an extensive kund simply by striking his heel on the ground. And then he summoned all the tirthas of the entire planet. Tirthas mean the sacred places of the entire planet to it. And uncountable tirthas immediately came before Krishna in their personified forms. And then he asked each one of them to enter the kund in the form of water. And in just a moment, like an instant, this place where he smashed his heel of his foot on the ground, creating a large reservoir, was filled with pure and sacred water. And then Krishna took his bath in that kund. And again, he tried to embrace Radharani. But now Srimati Radhika wanted to manifest her own kund full of water that was larger and more exquisite than Krishna's kund. And that was in response to his bragging. So she and her Sakis, they started to dig out a very attractive kund nearby. They took off their bangles and they were scratching the earth. Even Lalita took her bangle and broke it in two to dig even more deeper, but not so much as one drop of water appeared in it. So then Krishna joked, well, if that's the case, you have dug this big crater, but there is no water, so you can take a bath in my kund. But Srimati, along with her innumerable Sakis, they just ignored him, and they prepared themselves to bring water from Manasagangi in clay pots, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And Sri Krishna, and they had like a brigade, passing one pot, passing one pot, passing one pot. Sri Krishna signaled to the tirthas that they should insist that Srimati Radharani and her Sakis fill up their kund by taking water from his kund. So then the tirthas personified with folded palms pleased Srimati Radharani by offering her and the Sakis many prayers. And then Srimati Radharani gave permission to enter her kund. So then immediately the current of the water that flowed in from Krishna kund into Radha kund, filling up, and it was going clockwise. The water was like swirling clockwise in from Krishna's kund into Radha kund. And there were lotuses suddenly manifested, full-blown lotuses of every color. So with great pleasure, Sri Krishna bathed and performed water sports, Jalavihara with Srimati Radharani and the Sakis in this very dear kund. So they manifested, the two Kunds, Shama Kund and Radha Kund, manifested at midnight on Krishnastomy, the 8th day of the dark moon in the month of Kartik. And hundreds and thousands of people bathed there at midnight on this day. The Padma Puranam states that radiantly beautiful Sri Radha Kunda is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill. Faithful persons who bathe there on Krishnastomy in the Kartik month receive Krishna Prema Bhakti, love of God, filled with the seva, the service of Radha Kunja Bihari. And in the Padma Purana, it is stated on the day of Diwali, in the month of Kartik, the Ekantika, the one-pointed boxes of Sri Radha Krishna, can see the entire universe and the complete Braj Mandala in Radha Kund. Maybe some of you are familiar with Krishna Leela, know of the incident where Krishna's mother, Yasoda, also saw the entire universe just by looking into Krishna's mouth. Krishna is so wonderful. So outside of Mahaprabhu's sitting place, sometime later when Krishna left for Dwarka, both of these Kunds disappeared. When Krishna's earthly pastimes were completed and his so-called physical appearance was gone from the earth, both of these Kunds disappeared. So Krishna's great-grandson, Maharaj Vrajanabha, restored the Kunds under the guidance of Sandhya Leela and other rishis. But then 5,000 years later, they again disappeared. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, which was in 1550, he came to this place. He was inquiring from the local people about Radha Kund and Shama Kund, but they had no clue. They couldn't give him any information. So they told him there was 2 fields, and in the fields were 2 little mud puddles, Kaliket and Goriket, that lay before them. And they contained a little water, but mostly they were a little muddy. So Mahaprabhu respectfully addressed Kaliket and Shama as Shama Kund and Goriket. So Shama, blackish, and Gori, Radharani, Goriket as Radha Kund, and offered them his pranams. And then he bathed in them and he became overwhelmed. He lost all patience and he was just crying out, "Hey Radhe, hey Krishna." And then he fainted. And the place where he sat down is now called Tamalatala, or Mahaprabhu's Bhatikataka, the sitting place of Mahaprabhu. So after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das Goswami came from Jagannath Puri, and he was performing bhajan at Radha Kund. It wasn't developed at that time. So a Mughal emperor, Akbar, was making his way along the path with his vast army. Now, by army, we mean elephants, horses, and camels, and soldiers. And they were all very thirsty. So he asked Das Goswami, "Is there any big pond nearby?" Das Goswami said, "You can take here from Kaliket and Goriket." But the emperor was seeing, these are rather small. It's not even sufficient for a single elephant. So how will it quench the thirst of my entire army? However, Das Goswami said, no, you take this, there's enough. So he told his men to drink, and to his utter amazement, the entire army, together with the horses and the elephants and the camels, drank to their full satisfaction. And the water in the pond didn't even reduce, even slightly. So the emperor was completely astonished. Then after performing bhajan meditation here for some time, the thought of restoring these 2 Kunds entered Raghunath Das Goswami's mind. Then he thought, when he remembered the transcendental glories of Radha Kund, he began to reproach himself for thinking this. Thinking like, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? This is the perfection here, Radha Kund. And but just at that same time, a very wealthy person arrived at that place from Badarik Ashram, and he was looking for Das Goswami, Raghunath. He was known as Das Goswami. When he found him, he offered his Dandavat pranams at the feet of Goswami, and he said, I'm returning from a pilgrimage to Badarik Ashram, and Bhagavan Sri Baranarayan has sent me to you. On his order, I am offering to cover all the expenses required to restore these two kunds to their beautiful forms. Kindly accept my offer. So Das Goswami was overjoyed. At first, on principle, he rejected the offer, but then he relented, knowing it was the desire of Radha and Krishna, and he began the work of reconstructing the two kunds. So Radha Kund easily manifested in the shape of an elegant quadrangle, and the construction work on Shama Kund then began with the idea to give it a quadrangular shape also. And to achieve this, some of the trees on the bank would have to be cut down. So that night, Das Goswami was performing his bhajan, and he kind of dozed off for a short time, kind of like a little spiritual yoga nidra. And in his dream, he saw 5 persons standing in front of him, and they spoke. We are the 5 Pandavas. In the form of trees, we worship Yugakoswar here. Please do not cut us down. Rather, let the shape of the Kund be crooked. For this reason, Das Goswami did not have the trees cut down and instead followed the Kund's shape to be crooked, just like Krishna's shape. Threefold bending form. He only deepened. He made the kunds deeper, and he had the guts repaired. So both kunds to this day, only some repairs have been occasionally carried out, but they retain the form that was bestowed upon them by Das Goswami. So just a point here about the tree cutting. Maybe some of you are familiar with the Bhaktivedanta Hospital Hospice in Vrindavan. And if you're familiar with that place is on very old sacred land. And it was given over to ISKCON. But there was one thing. They could not cut even one tree. And there was quite a number of trees. So a very talented devotee architect was able to make the plans. And in the same way, not one tree was cut down, and the shape of the hospital is somewhat irregular according to our standard concept of architecture. Srila Prabhupada was also very careful about protecting trees. And one time he stopped a tree from being cut down out in the road near our Juhu property. He heard they were going to cut the tree so that there could be easier passage of traffic. And he protested to the municipality, and they accepted his protest. So the tree is in the middle of the roads and cars go around it. And one of the reasons Prabhupada really loved Juhu was because of the trees. And at one time he counted all the trees. I forget the number, but there were a lot of trees, and he counted all the trees. And in the same way, there was one tree in the way. And again, that tree is still standing by the desire of Srila Prabhupada. So Das Goswami, he didn't cut the trees down, and the Kund has this irregular shape. So Giriraj Govardhan stretches out from the north to the south and has the shape of a peacock. And his tail in the south is called Puchari, and his 2 eyes on his face in the north are Sri Radha Kund and Shama Kund. In the Krishna Bhavatamrita, Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur describes Radha Kund and Shama Kund in a very delightful and charming way. Although Brajanandana Sri Krishna is the source of all incarnations, he's the origin of everything, and yet he himself is without any origin. He is Akila Rasamritamurti, the personification of all nectarian mellows, and he's Sarva Shaktiman, the source of all Shaktis. He is subservient to the prema of Mahabhava Swarupa Srimati Radharani, the topmost of all Krishna's beloveds. And he always establishes the glories of Sri Kishoriji Radharani as superior to his own. You may know in Chicago, the deities are Kishore Kishori, right? And actually, I had a little bit of hand in their appearance because I was in Jaipur, and I was with another devotee, Srimati Devi Dasi, and we had completed the purchase of 3 sets of deities, which are now in Dallas, Radhakala Chanji, Detroit, Radhakunja Bihari, and Kishore Gopinath up in Toronto. So we were leaving, everything was done. And as we were just walking out the door, someone came with a telegram addressed to me. It said, bring Radha Krishna, large size, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So we were just going to the train station. We had our tickets. So Srimati left and I stayed behind with my daughter, and somehow or other miraculously, because it's not like you just go and there they are already on the shelf, but somehow miraculously I was able to find these beautiful forms of Radha and Krishna. And when it came time, they were packed, ready to go. But then I realized I didn't have a ticket to go to Bombay. The deities would go first to Bombay. At that point, they were just going to be used in a Pandal program, the second Pandal program. So you just couldn't, all the tickets for the trains, you really have to get them ahead of time. You just don't show up and get on the train. So I had no ticket. So I decided that I would go with the deities on the lorry. Those great, big, huge, crazy lorries in India. So myself and my daughter, the driver, and 3 of his friends were all in the front. There was one friend sitting between the door and the driver, and the rest of us were in the other seat. And we drove all night, and we landed up in Juhu early in the morning. And nobody was expecting a big lorry, because at that time we were living in tents. We didn't have our own place yet. So here comes this big lorry, and the devotees are looking, what's this? The driver jumps out, and then I jump out with my daughter, and they're thinking, what is going on? And then 2 big boxes are put out. And then we get a call from Prabhupada. There was a phone installed, and Prabhupada was staying in Bombay at a flat of a life member or a friend of Krishna. And he said, bring the deities. He wanted them where he was. And when we arrived and the deities were put into the flat, Prabhupada came from his room to the room where they were standing. And he was looking, and he says, bring them there. So there was his room, and he wanted them right in front of his desk. And then he said to me, put out your hand. So I put out my hand, and he took a ring off his finger and dropped it on my hand. And he goes, see if it fits, which it did. Anyway, Kishore. So then they eventually ended up in Chicago. And he was asked, you always give the name Radha so-and-so, but here it's, the other way around, Kishore Kishori. Why is that? And Prabhupada said, because I saved the best for last. Anyway, so there's a little description how Vishwanath Chakravarti was describing Radha Kund. Somehow I took a little detour. And so there's all the 8 Shakis, the Asa Shakis. They have different, like within the Kund, there's different places for them. So the northern part is the Kunj of Lalita, and there's a description how it's like an 8-petaled lotus. And then the northeast is Vishakananda, the Vishakasaki, and it's a jeweled kunj shaped like a 16-petal lotus. And then there's the kunj of Chitrasaki, and it's an amazing variety of forms and colors. And then there's the kunj of Indulekha, which is in the southeast, and it's like an 8-petal lotus, and it's made of diamonds. And then in the south, Champakalada's kunj, and it's shaped like a golden lotus. In the southwest is a lotus-shaped kunj of Rangadevi, and it's inlaid with blue sapphires. And then Tungavidya is in the west, and it's shaped like a lotus made with red rubies. And in the northwest lies Sukada Kunj, and it's the Kunj of Sudevi, and it's inlaid with emeralds. And in the center of Radha Kund is Anangamundari's Kunj, and it's a 16-petal kunj inlaid with moonstones. So, and it's connected by the bank by a bridge made of moonstones. So surrounding both Radha Kund and Shamakund are kalpataru trees full of mangoes and jackfruits and kandamba and bakula and so forth. And there's an abundance of flowers and fruits. And the bases of these trees are held by platforms made from various beautiful precious stones. And all seasons are eternally serving Sri Yugala under the guidance of the spring season. Now you're hearing these really elaborate descriptions. There's jewels and, so many things. And when we go there, we may not actually be seeing these things. Just like you hear about how Govardhan has so many elaborate caves and different places. And we go there and we might not notice or may not be able to see these things. But I'd like to tell a little story briefly that made me understand how these things could definitely and are definitely there because it's described. How could it be otherwise? If the description is there, it must be there. But maybe it's a little hidden. So on the way to Florida, coming from the north, you go down I-75, and there's a big advertisement at one place, like big billboards. You start seeing a few of them. Visit Ruby Falls, visit Ruby Falls. So one day I was going with all the young ladies from my ashram, and we'd been driving for quite a while, and I thought, let's just take a little scenic detour. Let's see this Ruby Falls. So you have to go up to the top of a mountain, and then you go in an elevator and you go down 1,500 feet in the middle of the mountain. And then you get out and it's all dark. There's just little lights, and you have a guide, and he's guiding you through this kind of mystical situation with stalagmites and stalactites. And all of a sudden they turn off the lights, and then they turn them on again. And there is this incredible waterfall hidden in the middle of the mountain. They put some music on, but we all burst out singing Govinda, Mari Purusham. It was just so astounding. But from that, I could understand. We couldn't see this waterfall from outside, but there it was. And it was big, beautiful. So in the same way, we may not be seeing all these elaborate things with our current vision, but that doesn't mean they're not there. And when the vision becomes, and our hearts are fully purified, we'll definitely be seeing things as they are. So Frinda Devi makes all the arrangements in a variety of ways for the seva of the divine couple, and the cuckoo birds and the peacocks, the cuckoos, they coo, and the peacocks dance and make, well, if you've ever heard peacocks, some people don't think it's so sweet, but I'm a peacock walla, and I love the sounds of peacocks. And there's a lot of peacocks in New Vrindavan, so I hear peacocks every day. And there's blue and red lotuses and various types of ketaki flowers. And all of this is there in the kunds. And intoxicated, buzzing bees hover around. royal swans and chakravartras and cranes play in the flowers with their consorts, and different birds recite bird love poetry on the branches of the trees. All is happening to give pleasure to Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Deers and does roam about in the attractive nearby kunjas, and except for Srimati Radhika's most intimate girlfriends, nobody can enter this forest. Srila Prabhupada mentioned, this was in Vrindavan during some conversation, who will live in Radha Kund? One is a topmost devotee, and if he mixes with third-class devotees, how is he fit for living in Radha Kund? There's no difference between Radha Kund and Radharani. So how can you jump over Radharani? Radha Kund and Radharani are non-different. How can you enjoy Radha Kund by swimming in it? You cannot touch your feet, even in Radha Kund. You can take a little water and keep it on the head. That is respectful to Radha Kund. Of course, things are going on like that, but strictly speaking, Radha Kund should be respected as Radharani herself. That is Radha Kund consciousness, highest Radha Kund consciousness. Now, I'll tell you the background of this little story, why he's mentioning how you can enjoy Radha Kund by swimming in it. What happened was, the first time we went to Vrindavan, it was with Srila Prabhupada. We didn't, on our own, ever go anywhere. We didn't do sightseeing and tourist business. So we had been in India quite some time before Prabhupada invited us to go to Radha Kund, to Vrindavan. And that was after the first Delhi Pandal. And we were very excited when he took us to Radha Kund. What would happen, and we didn't spend like walking around all over the place. We had a bus, and we would go in a bus to one place or the other, or a couple of places, and then we'd stop. Prabhupada would say a few words, and then generally we'd have lunch somewhere. So the day we went to Radha Kund, the devotees were overcome with excitement. And it was hot, it was pretty warm. And suddenly the devotees, everybody, men and women, were just jumping and diving into Radha Kund, splashing around and swimming. They weren't even segregated. I have to say they, because I was the only one who didn't jump in. And the only reason I didn't jump in was because I don't know how to swim. So it saved me from the upara at this point. So then Prabhupada sees us all, they're splashing and diving, and everybody's all mixed up, the men and the women, and Prabhupada's like calling back, come back, come back, come back. So then later he told us on the spot, never do that again. Never go in to Radha Kund like that again. And this was a little later than he's, expressing clearly, just take the water on the head. You should be reverential and don't put our feet in Radha Kund. Anyway, what is the time frame? Because
Mataji, you can go 10 more minutes if you'd like, no problem.
Okay, so Bahalostomy is also same as Radhastomy. So Bahalostomy is a beautiful pastime where there was a cow named Bahula, and that cow took shelter of Krishna. So on the back of Krishna Kund in Vrindavan, there are deities of a cow and her calf, and a brahmana, and a tiger. Well, some people say lion, tiger. Anyway, it was a large, dangerous animal. And Krishna, and all of them remind pilgrims of the beautiful pastime of Bahula. So this cow Bahula was very peacefully grazing when either it was a tiger or a lion, depending on how you look at it, tried to attack her. And Bahula requested the tiger, wait, allow me to return to my calf and feed my calf and say farewell before you eat me. So the tiger agreed, okay, and was sitting and waiting for Bahula return. So in the meantime, Bahula, the cow, went to her master, a Brahmana, and to her calf and indicated what had happened. And when they heard her pitiful story, both of them, her calf and the Brahmana, volunteered to go in her place and become the meal of that tiger. And Bahula, no, no, no. But in the end, all three of them, the cow, the calf, and the Brahmana, returned to offer themselves to the tiger. And the tiger was delighted by this so-called favorable turn of events. And while the tiger was contemplating, which one should I eat first? Lord Krishna appeared, the presiding deity of Dharma and the guardian of all the residents of Braj. And he was holding his chakra in one hand, and he assured the tiger of everlasting fame if he were to show leniency to the cow and its kin for their truthful and honorable conduct. So the tiger released Bahula from her promise, and the calf and the Brahmana, they were rejoiced that their mother was spared and felt blessed by Krishna's merciful invention. And being so pleased with Bahula's truthfulness and integrity, Krishna named the forest after her, Bahulavan. Even in New Vrindavan, we have a place, Bahulavan. It was the second phase of Vrindavan, of New Vrindavan. So he blessed her to become his consort, and in her next birth, Bahula became one of Krishna's wives. And this day was named after her, Bahalostomy. So there's a lot of mention, since time is a little short, I won't mention everything, but there's a lot of mention in the Nectar of Instruction about the glory of Radha Kund. In fact, it says in the purport that of verse 11, there's no limit to the glory of Sri Radha Kund. And in the purport of the 9th verse, it's explained that the importance of Radha Kund cannot be realized by anyone other than the Vaishnava Sampradaya. Radha Kund is mainly worshipped by Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And in the 10th verse purport, it says, Sri Radha Kund is the most exalted place. In the 11th purport, Radha Kund is so exalted because it belongs to Srimati Radharani, who is the most beloved object of Lord Krishna's love. And Krishna's love for Radha Kund and Srimati Radharani is the same in all respects. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that Sri Radha Kund is the most select place for those interested in advancing their devotional service. And by serving Radha Kund, one can get the opportunity to become an assistant of Srimati Radharani under the eternal guidance of the gopis. So actually, this nectar of instruction is very high level. It's actually for advanced devotees, very advanced devotees. But still, we should know what the instructions are. Rupa Goswami recommends one should take a bath in the lake as many times as possible. This is an important item for the execution of devotional service. But for one who are not fully purified, just like I mentioned, how we were enthusiastically splishing and splashing, that is not how one takes a bath. One must be very strictly reverential, offer prayers and obeisances before entering her sacred waters. In his last meeting with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada was given his life instruction. He met him, he was at Radha Kund. As you know, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has a room there. Still, that room is still there. So Prabhupada's last meeting with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was at Radha Kund. And he was advised, he was told him, if you get money, print books. He said, Prabhupada said, I took it very seriously, and by his grace, we have now published many translations. So there's so much that can actually say, but I'll wind up that Mahaprabhu bestowed the greatest charity upon the world by coming to Vrindavan to reveal the lost reservoir at that time, Lipta lost reservoir of Radha Prem. In other words, he came to Vrindavan to reveal Radha Kund and make Radha Prema available to everyone in the world forevermore. So on November 10th, 1977, 4 days before His Divine Grace left this planet to enter eternal pastimes of Radha Govinda, Srila Prabhupada told his disciples to bathe in Radha Kund on his behalf. He said, so you take bath in Radha Kund on my behalf. So years earlier, he told us not to take bath, but now by his ever increasing mercy on his behalf, disciples were requested to take bath. So I can take a pause here, and then if you have some questions or some points you want to point out, you can do that.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. So we have so many devotees right now watching the program. So dear devotees, if you would like to turn your camera on and ask your questions directly to Mataji, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, I see Lal Gopal's name, but I don't see Lal Gopal. He used to come every year to New Vrindavan.
Yeah, yeah. We had bus going every year.
Yeah, you had the bus, I know.
Yes, Mataji.
At that time, we had those big rooms with all the bunk beds in them, you know?
Yes.
Get so many people, and then now those rooms aren't even there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
At that time, I was in Columbus, Ohio, so it was much easier for me to go there with Prema Vilas Prabhu and spend some time.
Yes.
So much better. But I don't see those bunker beds now.
Actually, there may be one room upstairs.
Oh.
I don't know, but they've made, for the downstairs, they've made single occupancy rooms with attached bath and, but that was sweet times coming together and joyfully practicing Krishna conscious. Prem Vilas told me the first time he came to New Vrindavan, he had no idea, he just decided to go, and then it was late. And he didn't have a place to stay, and somebody invited, well, you can stay with us. And it was one of those bunk bedrooms. And then the next morning, everybody was getting up and he was thinking, oh my God, it's so early. But he followed them and he went to Mangalarti, and his heart was captured.
So yeah, Mataji, this is Lal Gopal Das. I mean, we can't forget those days. We are just waiting to have another bus trip to New Vrindavan after this COVID things gets over.
We're open.
I know how much.
You should come now. We are open. We've been open since May 22nd, I think. Of course, you know.
Is it?
Yeah, but I mean, you got to put the mask on, but yeah, it's wonderful.
Well, I remember how much you really helped us when we come in the bus trip, and I always call you and keep bugging you, Mataji, I need this many rooms. You've always been so kind. It's the last minute. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. It was wonderful time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, great. Well, we'll connect back again. We'll make sure that we make more trips.
So Mataji, there is one chat message here. Would you like to read, or you would like me to read?
It says, thanks a lot, Mataji, for enriching lectures and got opportunity to see this video. I remember reading about work you all have done for London. Your daughter Saraswati was very little. Yes, she was 6 weeks old when we left. Now she's 52. She'll be 53 in 2021.
So where she is living, Mataji?
She actually lives in Illinois in Lake Forest. That's like north of Chicago.
She'll be always remembered in our society. Her name comes a lot.
People come up and they go like this, how is little Saraswati? Little Saraswati, well, she's like half a century plus old now. Everybody just has her in their mind, she'll be little forever.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my humble obeisances.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for the wonderful lecture, Mataji. Mataji, I was listening to the Radha Kund and the trees that you were talking about, Pandavas as 5 trees. How would one understand, Mataji, like Pandavas are exalted devotees of the Lord, right? Why would they be standing as trees in Radha Kund?
Because they wanted to deeply drink the nectarian water of Radha Kund, and this was the best way to do it.
I see. So just like Uddhava had that desire of being a grass in a kind of similar.
We can't, because we think according to our body and our mind and what's comfortable to my mind and my body. Exalted souls are liberated, fully liberated. We look at a tree, you're thinking a tree. These were trees, 5 Pandavas. They weren't encased like an ordinary mortal. They were liberated souls. These trees were spiritual trees, Kalpavriksha trees.
Hare Krishna, Mother Malati. Please accept my humble obeisances. The question is there a Radha Kunda, Shyama Kunda in Goloka Vrindavana?
Well, where do you think Shamakunda and Radhakunda are? I don't know. I mean, everything in the spiritual world is reflected here. The only, like we were talking today about Paramatma. Paramatma, super soul, is in the heart of every living being. Once you're liberated and you go to Golok, there's no more Paramatma. There's no need because Krishna's right there before you. But as far as is Radhakund and Shamakund, I mean, where they are, that is the spiritual world, even though it is here, it's the spiritual world within our material realm, but they are not material. But are they replicated there? I cannot say.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
But you know what? Just you become purified, you become liberated, you go back home to Godhead, you find out and tell me the answer.
Thank you so much for your kind blessing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has anything? Mataji, so one thing that I would like to beg your recommendation on. I've been to Vrindavan many times, and most of the time when I go to Radha Kund, it becomes too late. And due to health reason, I do not basically get the opportunity to have the bathing.
Well, that's good. Then you don't put your dirty feet in the lake and you can just put on your head.
Yes, Mataji. So I was just taking some water, splashing on my head and then coming out. But that was always my desire, looking at the devotees, like, jumping in and swimming. So I always tell my wife,
that's not the way to bathe in Radha Kund.
Yes.
What you do is take a spray bottle and put the water in the spray bottle, and then you can spray yourself all over. But this jumping in and splishing and splashing, we don't enter Radha Kund to enjoy. We should be very, very reverential. This is the point, not frivolous.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
You can go to the ocean and splish and splash, or to some other place. You can have fun in the Yamuna. One time when we all went to the Yamuna with Srila Prabhupada by Brahmagat, everybody was splishing and splashing, and Prabhupada was sitting on and then suddenly he got up and he also entered, but he entered to do Gayatri, but he didn't stop the devotees there. And of course, the women were on one side at another place. We weren't all mixed up like we were at Radha Kund. So water sports, they're a bona fide Vaishnava pastime, but Radha Kund is not there for us to enjoy.
Thank you, Mataji. That helps a lot. I'm now not feeling guilty. I had a guilt that I have been there many times, but never got the opportunity to basically get into the Radha Kund or in the Syam
No
Kund.
need to feel guilty.
I feel that I was saved.
You should feel that you've been saved.
Yes, Mataji, that's what I'm feeling.
One time, a small group of us went on a prikrama with Radhanaswami, and so not one of the huge prikramas, but there was a number of us, but not like thousands. And we got to Radha Kund at midnight. And everybody was going and putting water like this. And one devotee from my ashram, she suddenly slipped, there was some that green mossy stuff, and she slid right into Radha Kund. And she had a backpack on, and it started filling with air, so it was pushing her more and more further away from the shore, and she couldn't get back. And she was like, we were throwing towels and gumshoes and, she finally got back out. And she was so ecstatic. She said, "This is the best day of my entire life." Because she didn't jump in, but Krishna very cleverly arranged for her to fall in. But she wasn't there to enjoy, and she was feeling very blessed by the experience.
Jai. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Anybody has anything?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
What is your name?
Ravi, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the wonderful class. So it was always pleasing to hear about Srila Prabhupada. So Mataji, would you like to share one of your favorite pastime from the book, A Bond of Love?
Yeah, we want to mention this book again, A Bond of Love. Just go, if you write A Bond of Love, you don't even have to write the rest of the title, it'll come up. And, where's my glasses? I'll just open it up. Prabhupada said about the Bhagavad, I'm not comparing this to the Bhagavatam, but every pastime is beautiful. And Prabhupada said, like the Bhagavatam, wherever you open it up, he said it about Krishna books, so wherever you open it is sweet, right? So same thing here. So I will just take one and we'll see what happens. Oh, that's kind of a long one. We'll find a little shorter one. Because there's 600 pages. I haven't read it all myself. Okay, Kamagiri Devi Dasi. Some of you may know her because she's from Columbus. Ramacharya, you must know her.
Yes, Mataji, yes.
So she, like when she was growing up, Kamagiri's mother shared everything she knew with her. And Kamagiri loved her mother more than life itself. And when her mom passed away, Kamagiri was only 18 years old, and she just felt devastated. And she was managing a sweet shop in a mall in Cleveland, Ohio, but she didn't feel happy at all. And she didn't know what would make her happy. So now I'll read that's a little intro. So now this is Kamagiri speaking. In my heart, I felt there had to be more to life than the useless cycle of working, going out with friends and getting intoxicated. I thought, Lord, there has to be more to life than this. And one day, a devotee, Bhakta Tony, came into my sweet shop and we became friends. Tony never told me anything about Krishna, but after I'd known him for about a month, although I'd never expressed this to anybody in my life, I told him, I feel like I'm supposed to be learning something, but I don't know what it is. And he gave me a Krishna book that I took home. When I opened the book and saw a picture of Srila Prabhupada, I thought he was the most beautiful man I had ever seen. I couldn't stop looking at him. And for the first time in my life, I fell in love. When I read the book, I was so attracted and fascinated, I couldn't put it down. I read it everywhere I went. One day, Tony invited me, it was a Sunday, to the feast at the Cleveland Temple on Euclid Avenue. Actually, at this place, Euclid Avenue, that's where Radha Murlidhar first manifested, the Radha Murlidhar that's in the Bhakti Center now. When I opened the temple room door, a cloud of frankincense and myrrh, the most beautiful smell I ever smelled. And it slapped me in the face. The devotees were chanting and dancing, and I started dancing a little bit. And I was thinking, wow, this is like another world. I was amazed at how the devotees were smiling and happily serving, because in the material world, nobody wants to work. Plus, the prasadam was so good that for the first whole week, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So this was in like 75. So in the whole year of 75, I was praying, oh, Krishna, please, I have to meet Srila Prabhupada just once. Please, Krishna, please, just one time. And I did meet him once in Bahulaban in New Vrindavan in 1976. When I saw Srila Prabhupada, I was stunned. I couldn't believe Krishna allowed me that opportunity. The devotees pushed me up front so I could get one of the cookies Srila Prabhupada was passing out. I was so happy Krishna had fulfilled my heart's desire. Without the devotees, I would never have met Srila Prabhupada, and I never would have had an opportunity or even a desire to engage in service. Reading about Krishna was enlivening, but it was just a wonderful story that I appreciated. It wasn't real to me until I started associating with the devotees and engaging in service. I'm so grateful for the mercy of the devotees who got the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and who are sharing it with me until this day. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
So by the association of devotees, one gets the mercy of Prabhupada and Krishna. The association of devotees is a most valuable commodity, and it should be valued and never squandered.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I have a little message that says my internet connection is unstable. So that means it's probably just going to go off. So maybe I just say goodbye now. So, or I can say goodbye now, and then if it goes off, you know why. But,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. So anybody has anything that they would like to share? Last one before we adjourn. We have so many devotees, Mataji, right now taking your association. So thank you so much for giving us your precious time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, no. Mataji, it's your blessing.
Hare Krishna.
Gopal Prabhu, anything there? I see you are there.
You're looking up in the sky. Are all the devotees up in the sky?
Yeah, we have all the.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please explain humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I met you in New Vrindavan a couple of years ago when you were there for the Festival of Inspiration.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the nice class, Mataji. Mataji, I just had a quick question. You mentioned about this Aristaban and the Bahulaban. So are they the same where the Aristasura was killed and this Bahula cow pastime happened, or they're different places in Govardhan?
Say, the question is what?
Yeah, are they the same place, the Bahulaban and the Aristaban?
Oh, good question. I mean, the two names are simultaneous with the appearance of Radha Kund. But Aristasura was killed in that area. And I don't know exactly where Bahula, the cow, was killed. But it was Srimati Radharani who recognized Bahula and gave the name Bahalostomy. But where he was killed, I don't know.
Thank you, Mataji. And Mataji, just another question about these 5 trees. I heard that those trees are not there anymore. Is that true? Thanks of Samkun.
Yeah, sadly. Maybe they've planted some new ones now, or they might have taken some shoots. Sometimes they'll do this when they see, like the tree in Krishna Balaram Mandir. The original tree isn't there anymore, but there's a tree, right? The Tamal tree. And that's another tree that was saved by Prabhupada, by the way, because I wanted to take it away and Prabhupada stopped it. But sometimes they'll take, so like with that tree, they took a piece of the tree and planted it and then it grew. So I don't know if they did that with these 5 trees, maybe, maybe not. Or sometimes they'll just replant some other trees and dedicate them. I know the last time I was there, they were definitely gone, and that was. But I was told that some more trees would come, so I don't know if they're going to come on their own or they were going to bring them in. Anyway, it's a detail. What's important is the actual aspect of the sacredness of Radha Kund being non-different from Radharani.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. Please give us your blessing so that we can become a little bit Krishna conscious, Mataji. We need your kind blessings. And whenever things gets better, Lal Gopal Prabhu is our temple president. So of course, on his behalf, we'll approach you and would like you to invite to come here and give us more of your association. We are so blessed, Mataji, that you gave some of your precious time with our congregation devotees. I saw we had today so many devotees very enthusiastically came and got the opportunity to associate with you and hear from you. So thank you so much, Mataji. Please forgive me if I made any mistake. I'm a toddler, still learning things. So kindly forgive me if I made any mistake.
No
Thank
mistake.
You so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. All glories to all of you. And may you always remember Krishna, Radharani, and remain in the service of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Panchkalpataru Bhasya Kripa Sindhu Assemble Bhakti Vrind ki jai. Malati Devi Dasi Mataji ki jai. His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Assemble Bhakti Vrind ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Sab Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So just stay a few minutes. I would like to just make one quick announcement that on 15th of the November, which is Sunday, we are going to celebrate Govardhan Puja in our temple. And I know that due to COVID, we might not be able to get there physically, but we are not trying to compromise in terms of, the way we do our celebration. So still we are going to have kirtans and Govardhan Puja and, basically preparation and making of the Govardhan Hill. And also one of the things that we do every year during Govardhan Puja time, which gives you opportunity to basically support temple through some auction activity that we do. So we'll be sending the emails, and in that email, you will see the link that will take you to our temple webpage, and there you will see multiple items. So please, as usual, as you have been supporting, Lal Gopal Prabhu is going to basically lead that part when we do that in the temple. So please take the benefit of the opportunity and support whichever way you can. Thank you so much again all for coming and being part of this program. Of course, it showed very good enthusiasm, and we wanted to show our good attendance to Mataji. So really appreciate for your continuous support. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we have our Bhagavatam recitation 7 to 7:30, and then 7:30 to 8 o'clock we are doing Damodarastakam. On every Saturday we are doing 3 hours kirtan and then Damodarastakam. So please, this is a very auspicious month. As many programs as you can attend. There are so many programs we are doing online to keep ourselves more Krishna conscious. So thank you so much once again. Vanchkalpatarubhya, Tashakripasindhubhya, Yivasha Pattanam Pavanebhya, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Assemble Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, and see you all tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Dandvat Pranams. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.